Hey everybody, welcome back to Fireside Chats with A.R. Farina. I'm your host, A.R. Farina. In today's episode, we're going to discuss Jane Austen's misunderstood masterpiece, Mansfield Park. I wanted to start talking about Mansfield Park because, as I said, it's the book people read the least. I'll be honest, and that as a young person, I only read the big three Austen books, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, and Emma, because people made a claim that the other three books weren't as good. They were wrong. But there's something interesting about Mansfield Park that doesn't happen in the other books. It's the longest of them, it's dense, and it's the only book where we meet the main character as a little girl and we go with her all the way through adulthood. In the rest of the books, you meet them and they're either fully formed adults or they're teenagers who are about to get married because that's what happened. Again, social commentary to be had aplenty there. But Mansfield Park follows a young girl called Fanny Price, whose mother is the youngest sister of these three women, and they've all gone in different directions. Maria Bertram is now her name. She's married well-to-do Tom Bertram, and she's doing great. She lives in Mansfield Park. They own this whole area. Everything is great. They're rich. They do some nefarious deeds, which we'll talk about as we go through the series talking about Mansfield Park, but they're very rich. The middle sister, Mrs. Norris, she's married a reverend who just so happened to get stationed at Mansfield Park, and he has recently passed away, and so now Lady Norris doesn't have anywhere else to be, and because she's like the widow and her sister kind of owns the place, she just is around. She lives with her sister, she's got her own place, but she's really up in everybody's business. She never had kids. And then the youngest sister, Frances, had 10 kids. Well, she had 9 kids. She's about to have her 10th kid, and she just can't afford it. They live in Portsmouth. They're poor. Her husband is a sailor, and he's not well-to-do. He's not well. He's not the best guy either. And so she sends her sisters a note and says, "Dear sisters, I have a new baby coming. Yikes. Can you help me out? Can you take one of my kids? Because I don't have enough to feed all my kids." And so they're like, let's take the girl. Let's take the oldest girl. So they say, sure, send us Fanny. So young Fanny, 8, 9 years old, packed up, goes to meet these aunts and uncle and cousins that she's never met, and now she's forced to live with them. And while Mrs. Norris is like, oh, we'll do this because it's so good and it'll be good for Fanny and it's the right thing to do, but we want to make sure we put her in the cold attic because we want her to know that it's a charity case. And so from there, Mansfield Park goes into this amazing commentary of social status and what it means to be from the same family, but what is more important, blood or money or status. And so Mrs. Norris has status because she's Mrs. Norris, because her husband was a minister. Her sister is Mrs. Bertram. Lady Bertram, she's the queen, as it were, of this area. Thomas Bertram is her brother-in-law, and he's the big deal. He owns Mansfield Park. So it's always funny about who you know and your proximity to it, and that's the conversation that we see. We see it through the eyes of this really good, really amazing person, Fanny Price. And Mansfield Park takes society down. It really digs deep into classism, into sexism, and it has a lot to say about slavery too. And so as we go through the rest of the series on Mansfield Park, I'm going to break each part of those down one at a time. We'll focus on the characters, we'll focus on the plot, we'll think about how those things go together, and then ultimately I'll end with my version of Mansfield Park, Welcome to Mansfield, and how I was so inspired in the story I chose to tell and the changes I made. So looking forward to that. So if you haven't read Mansfield Park, maybe you can read along, and if you have, great. Can't wait to hear what you say about Mansfield Park. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.